नहमदुहु व नुसल्ली अला रसूलिहिल करीम। क़ाल अल्लाहु ताला मै यूतिल हिकमत फ़क़द ऊतिय खैरन कसीरा। अल्लाहुम्मा यातीना हिकमा हिकमा सालिम। My dear elder brother Javed Saab, my colleagues, Professor Hasina, Janab Muhammad Alam, Anjum Saab, Javed Saab, and all others, Professor Emeritus Datu Dr. Azmi Umar, Datu Mr. Iqbal Khan, Dr. Ahmadullah Siddiqui, Dr. Abdul Azim Islahi, Dr. Arshad Siddiqui, Dr. Aftab Ahlam, all in their own designations very important. I wish you all a very fine good evening and Assalamu alaikum. What I should say at the moment is that when Professor Najatullah Siddiqui was born, that was an important period in the history of world. That's around 1930-31, when already the world had watched a massacre and millions of people had been killed, and a grand empire had been dashed down, and many petty states had come into existence, and the global economy was in shambles. Thoughts were extreme. On the one side, the right of the right of the right, and on the other side, the left of the left of the left. And then in that confusion, there was every possibility of emergence of anarchy and anarchical jingoism, if I call it. And that was watched then by the world from 1939 to 1945. And another 60 million people of the world were massacred, and the world was in a way devastated. Who could think of many things, what should happen? And then during that period, Professor Najatullah Siddiqui might have gone to the school or to the madrasa when that all war was taking place. Then when people wanted to reshape the world, might be Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin, they were thinking of as the most powerful people of the world. They were giving a shape to the world. They were thinking, and as is reflected by the international action as we find it, in the forum of the instruments and the happenings, we find it that there was an urge for peace. And there was need for a mechanism to establish peace. And there was need for the thought to make it sustainable, to give a vision to make it sustainable. And that's how, when we find in 1945, the UN Charter that carries the foundational mechanism with it by the establishment of the United Nations, with the goal and vision that we can't afford again this kind of massacre. We should not forget at the moment that whenever these wars take place, whenever devastations take place, whenever conflicts go to the heights, they do have, along with other reasons, the economic reasons as well. Where there is economic imbalance, where there is economic injustice, definitely there cannot be peace, there can be conflict. Though other factors are also very important, the cultural identities and the national spirits and egos and whatever they may be. So, in 1945, along with the emergence of the United Nations, some drafts also came, which later on came to be known as GATES, the Agreements on Tariff and Trade, which remained silent for another 50 years and could get the light of the day only in 1995 when there was fall of USSR. So the question is that it is the same period during which came 1975 when Javed Saab came in contact with Professor Najatullah Siddiqui. And that time we can visualize what might have been the thought of the comprehensive mind of Najatullah Siddiqui, where there was USSR and the leftist thought that was at the peak and quite influencing. And at the same time, there was restlessness on the other side, where they wanted to replace their monopoly in the world where they had largely lost it, especially in Southeast Asia and West Asia. How could they re-establish it? Was that they should take an advantage of all what was done by anybody from Germany and then to replace something which was to come from them for their own benefit. In such a situation, to think of a balanced policy was a rare dream that anybody should come forward. And that's how I think there was no voice at the world level. There was no powerful voice at the world level to say not the right, not the left, but Avsat. God says there is need for balancing the things. You are Ummat-e Wast, but Ummat-e Wast did not have the voice at that time who could talk of it. And there were parrot-like voices of few people. They wrote books, but the thought was very good, thought was very strong. Why I said, my youth il hikmata, fakat utiya khairan kasira. Hikmah is very important. What is hikmah? Hikmah is to place the right thing at right place. If you know it, then it's there. But when the intentions are not clear, when there is malice, you cannot place the right thing at right place. And that's how we find that economies emerging and falling, doing lot of injustice, then another thought is coming up in the same pattern, and then there is conflict and nothing but conflict and pain. Too much of pain is there. That's the result. So all what these thinkers were thinking at that time, some from Egypt, some from India, mostly from this part of the world, I think that could have been a guiding light after the fall of Ottoman Empire for the whole of the world. That they could have resorted to the welfare economy, they could have resorted to the balanced economy, they could have resorted to a very good economy. I believe that three things are very important: society, polity, and economy. Society should be quite balanced, fair, and it should be directed by the revealed wisdom that the voice comes from within, from inside, or from divinity, whatever we may call it. And then polity is very important. It should be based on the principles of equality and social justice. If it is not, it's not a fair polity. And then to it support and to make it sustain, economy is very important. And on what the economy is based, I think that has to be given a look again and again. And when Professor Najatullah Siddiqui was in the world's best of the universities, Aligarh Muslim University, then he had to think, he was thinking of it, that how we can balance the things. And his all approach was in concept building. His approach was on devising the tools, as you call them, and then this was to develop a mechanism where you include this banking and interest free banking, how to establish a system that can make the things sustain. I don't know why Why a population of, if I take only Indian population at that time, might be 10 crore Muslims of the country and the leadership of that time, why they could not take it very seriously and then establish a banking system or welfare system, a support system to themselves, where they had the tradition of it, the Baitul Mal, other things, or whatever Najatullah Siddiqui was writing, why they did not give it a practical shape to some extent that it could have been emulated by many of the nations at that time when the world was in remaking, it was in reshaping. So the reason is we do understand, but for the sake of argument, we say we don't understand. Probably that we have not understood the fundamentals of the faith. The faith is not merely found in bowing and 5 times praying. The faith is in your actions. If you give half an hour in a day to Farz Namaz, then you have another 23 hours to live. How? How to live? And then can you forget there the society, economy, and polity? What is my role in shaping the society? What is my role in shaping the polity? And what is my role in bringing in a good economic system? Probably that half an hour is to converse with your Lord, converse with your Almighty, what you did during all these 23 hours and half an hour. So I believe that still it is not too late. Can 20 crore people somewhere residing on this planet, can they think of it? Yes, we can do it. And how shall they do it? I think there are people who can devise the mechanisms within this confusion and think of it. Yes, we can have a very good economic system. And for that purpose, when I think of a very good economic system, what it should be, the first and the foremost thing I believe that a good economic system that should have is low unemployment. Low unemployment. Is our system worldwide bringing down unemployment? If not, why don't the people of the world come up and say, we have a system which can reduce unemployment and which will have the potential to give a dignified life to other people of the world? And Islamic theorists, they must work too much on it. They must be statistically very strong. They must know the resources on this planet Earth. They must know that how we can bring the resources into use in a proper way, in a sustainable way. How can we reduce unemployment? I think that's very important. And second is, inflation will be there, but it should be steady in inflation. And then, if that steady inflation will have to be brought into existence, I believe the books of Najatullah Siddiqui should definitely be read in that context. And if there is not expressly anything, but the road is clear, here is the road where we can find a system where we shall have least inflation. And then the third, I shall say, the consumer confidence. Consumer confidence. Today, anybody who is investing in anywhere in banking, in corporate sector, or elsewhere, and then using the things, how much confident and how much happy he is very much, it has to be analyzed. When I was saying that when you are getting a bank loan, you feel that you have become an owner. No, you have become a debtor. And that's how you are not anybody like an owner of a factory if you have established it with the bank loan from this bank on this kind of interest. You can otherwise become an employer. You can otherwise become an employed if you are using the Islamic banking tools for these kinds of things. Whatever it may be, I think there has to be a lot of thinking on it. Now, too much water has come down the Nile on that side, and too much from Brahmaputra on that side, and too much from Jamuna and Ganga. We have to appreciate it. We have to realize it. And that's how the things have to. Himalayas have turned too much barren now. They don't have that much plantation. You human being, arise. You are eating up the best of the resources of the on the planet. Jungles, you are eating them up because your economic system is lopsided, and you have polluted the best of the waters in the world. They have become not usable. Then it is because of your lopsided economic policies. And then if these rhetorics, if I call them at the moment, might be they will be proved as the realities in future. I think you will find that we can have a better world. And egos should go. There should not be egos with these Western thinkers or Eastern thinkers. They should accept the realities. As Javed Saab knows these economists, I don't know them much. If an economist, to justify something, develops the economic theory of entitlements, he is praised in all the universities, included in all these kinds of courses and this thing. But please ponder on it, whether this economic theory of entitlements drives lot many people off their entitlements. And that's how a critical kind of, ruthless kind of academia should develop. And they should expose all these kinds of theories, which are basically based on fallacy, maliciousness, and not humanly so. And that's how I would say read again all of them, and then somewhere, if you feel that you must be just and fair also, and come readily and take up the books of Najatullah Siddiqui. Say something. He wrote not only the pages, he wrote not only the books, he wrote men also in front of you. So that's how, a thinker came up, and he was not groomed well. I would always say, and I always say, that there are people who have been very good intellectuals. And if I take one Sheikhul Alam of Kashmir, he has given economic theories, scientific theories, environmental theories, all theories. But he was unfortunate because he did not have good professors at his back who would have taken his message, who would have explored his thought, who would have presented it to the world, and it was not. And Wordsworth, John Keats, others were not so prolific, but they were lucky to have very good professors. And they carried them, their thought, their poetry, their philosophy across the globe. That's unfortunate. That's how we will have to arise to the occasion. I would say that people of this country, at least, and people across the globe, they should now tie up with Institute of Objective Studies, tie up with Anjum Saab and say, one of the three best brains of human history, Ghazali, Iqbal, Mujaddid Al-Fisani, what is there? All are ignorant about it. There is a lot. If you can, you will put it in one pen of the balance, and all other theorists on others, this will be heavier. But the question is, who projects them? Who projects the thought? Who has the time to do it? And I shall not blame them. Probably they are in the cobweb of the modern economy. They look for a job. They are not looking to live in some cave and then write the books on these people. They are not sitting under the trees to do it. So today's message to us is that Muhammad Najatullah Siddiqui, he did all. When I was in the school, I read the translations of some of the good books of Egyptian and Indian writers, and translations I think he was doing about this the books of many people, Islam mein Adli Ijtimai, and so many. So that's right from the school. I never knew that day that I shall travel such a long distance and someday come here. But then in those villages where we would take sometimes the banner and say, huh, this Narai Hadri, Islam Zindabad, and all that, in that innocence. But I would say today we have to consciously go for it and then look to all this thought and see that Najatullah Siddiqui has not left you, he has not left you thoughtless. He has not left you poor in thought. He has left you very rich in thought, rich in tradition, and rich in giving a path, a different path of thinking in between the extremes of the East and the West, in between the right and the left, a very humanistic path. I believe we shall adhere to it. And again, I would say, Allahumma yatina hikmah, hikmah, hikmah. Thank you so much. Allah bless you.